I'm sometimes prone to overthinking. And if you're a person like that as well, please keep watching. Because what I want to talk about in this video is how to notice when you're overthinking and what to do about it. Overthinking is intriguing to me because I've always thought thinking was a good thing. How could you have too much thinking? So in this video, I'm going to explain what I've discovered so far, and maybe it will be useful to you as well. The first way to know that you're overthinking is that you find yourself repeating the same thoughts over and over again without making any decisions. It's like you just keep coming back to the same place, expecting something different to happen. It's like if you're in your house and you're trying to look for something and you've looked in the exact same place 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and it's not there, but somehow you are stuck on repeat because you think it should be there. That's oftentimes a sign of overthinking, when we're trying to solve a problem and we just keep coming back with these same thoughts. The second one is that anxiety begins to rise without improving your understanding. Now, anxiety is a good and natural part of being in a problem, of having something that's unresolved. There can be a good kind of stress. Our minds like things to be resolved. We want the story to make sense. And yet, the journey of trying to solve a complex problem often requires that we can sit in that uneasiness, in that anxiety. But when anxiety starts to rise over and over and over, and it gets to a level where it's just not helping you, it's clouding your ability to pay attention, you're often going to fall into a habit of overthinking. That's what I've learned in my own journey. Another one is you keep gathering information, but you avoid making any choices. I remember in the early days of PowerPoint and presentations, always just looking for the right clip art, the right image to include, as opposed to really making actual progress. So I start gathering 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 articles or 50 different images to use, rather than making some clear decisions and prioritizing things. That's a good sign that we're caught in a trap of overthinking. Another one is you delay closure to avoid possible error. We're afraid of getting things wrong, and we're making some progress. Either we know that we're at a dead end, or we know that we might even be close to the end, but we're afraid that we might have made the wrong decision. And so we find ourselves ruminating, and we just delay that closure. Another clear sign that overthinking is probably taken over. Next is we get caught in this trap of best over good enough. Now, I'm not just saying that we should settle for mediocrity, but sometimes we set this standard that is so incredibly high that it's nearly, if not entirely, impossible to achieve. And that's going to lead to this cycle of overthinking. There comes a time when we have to just settle for good enough. We can always refine it and improve it later, to acknowledge that we've gotten somewhere and then we can build on it. So what do we do when we notice these habits and these patterns of overthinking? I've identified 3 things that help me quite a bit, so I'm going to offer them to you to consider as well. The first one is to define what would count as enough information. So if you are caught in the overthinking habit of just collecting more and more and more, come up with some set of criteria. How will I know when I have enough? Once I start to see a lot of repetition in the information that I'm gathering, and I've done a thorough collection of information, I know that I probably have a good cross-section of the most important info. And so then I can take a little bit of a break. I don't have to keep collecting more, and I can just focus in on the stuff that I've collected. A second one that helps me a lot with overthinking is to make a provisional decision, to make a kind of soft commitment, because sometimes I'm withholding the desire to make that commitment because I'm afraid of an error. So I trick myself and I tell myself, just make a call and sit with it for an hour, for a day, for a week, depending upon how much time I have on a given project, and just sit with it. And then I can come back and I can review it anew. But it allows me to put a pin in things, to turn my brain off, to stop the overthinking, And oftentimes I can revisit it when I'm fresh and I don't have the same level of anxiety and I'm thinking more clearly. And the third one is I like to use small tests that give me feedback. Oftentimes, overthinking can be exacerbated by looking at the big picture and where we want to be at the end. And it just seems like such a huge mountain to climb, bigger than what we can accomplish at this moment. So instead, I set milestones and I set simple tests along the way, things that give me feedback and it gives me a sense of whether I'm going in the right direction or not. And those smaller milestones and those little tests can give me the motivation to keep going. And I go to the next test and the next milestone. And before I know it, sometimes I'm on top of the mountain. So I know this isn't an exhaustive summary of how to overcome overthinking, but it's helped me and I hope you find it useful as well.